Sairam, everybody. Today's topic of discussion in our session of Chintan Manthan, discussion and deliberation, which is part of the Sankhya Shastra. So, as we all know, Saipanthis believe in three things: Jnana, Bhakti, Karma. Jnana and Bhakti is to gain the knowledge, process and understand the knowledge gained is Bhakti, Jnana and Bhakti. So these two attributes are more so towards Sankhya Shastra. So we have a blend of yoga and Sankhya both. So in this process, we always take up a particular topic, discuss, deliberate, dive deep into, and try to get into the bottom of everything. The peculiar thing about Saipanth's Chintan Manthan is that we get into any subject, dive deep into it to an extent when we attain a sense of shunya, as in there is nothing more to learn about the subject. We get into the depth of the subject. We don't leave anything left about the subject which we discuss. So at least that is our effort. Now, in this process, today's topic is Thirtha Yatra and Yoga Yatra. Yatra is, transliteration is, the journey, not the travel. Yatra is a journey. Thirtha Yatra. Let us first address what is Thirtha Yatra and then what is Yoga Yatra. What is the difference between these two? Right. Thirtha Yatra is more so done in order to offer our thanks or gratitude to any of the holy place, shrine, or deity or God. And we go and say either offer our gratitude or ask for something. More often, it is like we want something in our worldly existence or in anything. It can be peace of mind. It can be anything. So it's not necessarily only the materialistic thing. So when we gain something like that, we go and offer our thanks to the divine. Whereas in Yoga Yatra, the fundamental difference is it is a journey towards union. Yoga. To become one with. To become one with is the transliteration of the name called yoga. Yoga Yatra is a very conclusive yatra of any individual consciousness in a body. Now, when somebody takes up a Yoga Yatra, what happens? Why is it done? How different is it from Thirtha Yatra? Who can take up the Yoga Yatras? So these are all the questions we are going to address today. Now, when we talk about Thirtha Yatra, we have very clearly told ourselves that we go and we come back. We have a return plan that I leave on X day, I'll come back on the Y day, the day or whatever. In reality, technically in Yoga Yatra, when you go, you don't come back. You may or may not come back. In the ancient days, people used to call it as Kashi Yatra. going off to Himalayas. They never come back. In the process of their, roaming around or in search or whatever, they may or may not come back to their native lands. The difference is Kashi Yatra is always called as, referred to as a Yoga Yatra. You have gone towards oneness, yoga. So, yoga is to become one with. So, that is the fundamental difference between Yoga Yatra and the Tirtha Yatra. Yoga Yatra has got a lot of different names. In Islam, it is called as Al-Isra, the journey, not the travel. The Hajj that they perform. In Christianity, the Holy Land, visit to the Holy Land that they used to do. Now, I don't know how relevant or how, prominent. In Sanatana Dharma or Hindu Dharma, it is so prevalent. Everybody, it's very common to take the Yoga Yatra. Not many are even aware of the distinction between the Yoga Yatra and Tirtha Yatra. This is the fundamental difference. Now what happens? As clearly explained, in Tirtha Yatra, it is more to offer our gratitude or ask for something, and then, so basically we are asking for something, or we are saying that thanks for what we have received for asking something. So that's basically, or a pilgrimage. It's very clear. Your conscience is very clear that you're going for X number of days and come back. Very clear. But what happens in Yoga Yatra? In technicality, in reality, it's not that you will come back or you will not come back. It's you may or may not come back. The idea of this yatra is to attain oneness. Now the scenario in Yoga Yatra before starting, all of us have experienced. There's a lot of churning which happens. There's a lot of purging which happens. Lot of emotional imbalances. Lot of circumstantial imbalances. Lot of, fear, anxiety, blockages. Even for us to take up the yatra, it is so difficult. Lot of circumstantial difficulties pop up. It is not so when you take up the regular yatra. We all have done both the things. Whether we travel to any holy place and come back, we're very clear. We won't have so many obstacles. We won't have so many, blocks. We don't have so many emotional imbalances. It's okay. It's one of the holidays types. But why is it? Because I'm speaking at this stage wherein after having gone on a few yoga yatras, the Saipanthis and Avadhutas of Shunya Kriya, now I think we can speak more confidently, having experienced so many blocks, so many obstacles, so many emotional challenges, mental challenges, circumstantial blocks, challenges, not able to move, don't feel like going. All these things happen. Why is it that? As we are aware, Shunya Kriya and Avadhuta Sampradaya of Saipanth is completely based on few things. Besides, of course, Gnana Bhakti Karma, that aside. It is dharana and sadhana, dharana and dhyana, and most importantly, the sankalpa, the purpose. Sankalpa is to attain oneness. We do not go to any of the, yatras, in order to obtain something worldly, materialistic. More often it is like that. Mujhe kuch chahiye kisi mandir mein bhai. I want something, I'll run to Shirdi, Baba will give, and I'm happy. That is the standard. Or I've got something here, it is my duty to go and offer my gratitude to the master. Okay, I'm doing it. Right. I said, if not anything, I've got holidays, let me go to Shirdi and come back, or let me go to Tirupati and come back. Right. Have a darshan and come back. But in Yoga Yatra, it is not so. The travel is towards oneness, which is within. You travel all over to travel within. You travel to every nook and corner, from Himalayas to, Kashmir to Kanyakumari, length and breadth of the, places, country. But here it is very, very different. Yoga Yatra is so different. We all can vouch for it out of our own experience. Sankalpa has a vikalpa. Your sankalpa is where there is a contradiction. You are on a yoga yatra, but you know you are coming back to the worldly existence. That is where the friction is. That is why we feel that resistance. I am not able to travel. I don't feel like traveling. Something is holding me back. I'm not able to progress. I can't. I feel all these emotional upheavals and downheavals have happened to us. Blocks, obstacles. But when we start the yatra, till we return to our native lands, it's absolutely peaceful. So that is one difference. And the vikalpas are these obstacles. Vikalpas against the sankalpa. Sankalpa is a travel within. That is the main thing which happens in yoga. The reason is your karmas and karma phalas haven't got cleared yet. And you are also coming back. So the energies or your destiny or the Ekadasha Rudras or whatever is like, why are you going? What is the purpose? You're not done yet here. Stop. Do not. There's no point. So that comes in terms of your emotional state, mental state, blocks, obstacles, and so on and so forth. Because it's very clear, the sankalpa is very clear, you're going to come back to this worldly existence. Should we decide someday that I am not coming back to this worldly existence and I'm going once and for all, then you'll see the worldly difference. Total difference. You'll have no obstacles. Everything gets cleared. The conscious is moving towards the travel within once and for all. It will be completely effortless travel. There is a contradiction in these yatras that we take up. I agree. So we go to come back. Whereas in actual Yoga Yatra in its true sense, when you go, you don't come back. So that is the reason why all these realities will start bringing in the obstacles. Now, the obstacles, why do they come? Because our realities, our obligations, our fulfillment of our worldly existence is not over yet. It is still incomplete. You still have lots to traverse. You still have lots to endure. You still have lots to discharge your duties with, particularly with someone the loved ones of your life, in your life. Their condition will alter. Those will be the main reasons for you not to travel. So many things will come up. If the sankalpa is without a vikalpa, that is your decision without any alteration to the decision of going away on Yoga Yatra, trust me, there's no stoppage at all. Right? Now, who is entitled to go on Yoga Yatras? The name itself suggests the yogis, the avadhutas. Avadhutas generally go on Yoga Yatra. There is nowhere to come back. There is nowhere to circle back. It's the place where you stay or where you live is non-consequential. You may or may not come back because that place is insignificant. The relationships and the obligations are insignificant. It's non-consequential. You may come back, you may not come back. There's nothing to come back. There's nowhere to go. It's Shunya. It's just a name of a place. So that being the case, the blocks and obstacles will just vaporize. I just have to tell you, narrate a story of what is the true Yoga Yatra is. By quoting the life of one of the greatest masters who is relevant forever on earth, Sri Mahavtar Babaji. This time we visited his birthplace also, Parangipetta. Beautiful small coastal town, village. Anyway, we'll get to that later. Who is Mahavtar Babaji? We know he's a Karna avatar. He's come for a purpose. Basically to ensure that the Kriya is the deed of evolving the human race, whoever is a seeker towards union, that is yoga. That is the purpose of Mahavtar Babaji. He lives in the same name, fame, and entity as he was. Now his Yoga Yatra begins with a state of complete disillusionment. What happens? Why does he get so done with this world at a very young age? I don't know how many of us have read the story or the sequence, the history. Mahavtar Babaji's mother, his name was Nagaraja. His mother gets a jackfruit. So she gets a jackfruit and she says that this is for the whole family. So young boy that he was, out of, love for jackfruit, which he used to love the most. So he cuts open and he eats most of it or half of it or 3/4 of it. So his mother comes back. She looks at it and she says that, what's wrong with you? She's enraged. And she says, what's wrong with you? What is this? You're so greedy, selfish, and self-centered. So she just holds him tight and stuffs all the jackfruits, remaining ones, into his mouth. With that, Nagaraja, he gets choked. So he barely survives that incident which happens. And he's almost dead. He's almost choking to death. So after that, he's out of it. Somehow he survives that incident. Then that triggers a complete vairagya, dispassion. This is what is all this. In the grip of rage, my mother did not even realize that she would have choked me to death. That is the consequence of Krodha. And look at me. I was so greedy, Lobha. What is all this drama happening? So for us to trigger this thought of dispassion or vairagya, it can be anything. Anything can trigger vairagya. You can just, some small incident can just trigger the vairagya. It is just an incident which is pushing us towards ultimate truth. It can be a very trivial incident, like what happened to Nagaraja. So after which he is wandering around his coastal village, and there the journey begins. He's been kidnapped by a slave trader. He's carried all the way to Kolkata. He's sold as a slave. There, the man who buys him as a slave is very kind-hearted. He looks at this boy and he sets him free. He says, I bought you, but I bought your freedom. You just go, carry on. So then Nagaraja joins a group of yogis, sadhakas and siddhas. For years together, he travels with them. He goes to different ashrams, mathas, schools of thoughts, Vedanta schools. And he learns everything. He has mastered all the Shastras, not the Puranas. Only the Shastras. All the Vedas, Upavedas, Samhitas, Aranyakas, Brahmanikas, Upanishads, and all the Sutras, Itihasa, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad, everything. Bhagavata is Purana, besides Bhagavad. Everything is mastered. He knows everything. He's learned everything. Mantrocharas, everything. For years, decades, he learns in some of these ashrams. But he is still not happy. He is still not convinced. There's still a vacuum, still there is a search in his heart. So he goes around and he travels back to his native village, Parangipette, where this incident happened. Why this whole narration is because in Yoga Yatra, how even though he comes back to his native land, it is not consequential. When he left, there was a trigger which was for attaining a state of dispassion. And then he heads. Then he comes back to Parangipette in search, comes towards search, not knowing or not with a conscious decision to come to his native land. No. Whilst coming down, traveling all over, he also comes here. Then he recognizes his house. His sister is there. So he talks to her. Then both brother and sister travel towards another guru called the Bhoganathar. So he meets Bhoganathar. Bhoganathar gives him the entire Advaita Siddhanta, makes him practice and experience the whole thing. Yet there is a small trace of it which is remaining. That, there is still something which is beyond Advaita. There is something which is still to be internalized. With that thought, when he approaches Bhoganathar, he and his sister, both of them approach Bhoganathar. Hoganatha first, finally, he says, you go to your, finally to your real guru, Sri Agastya. Those days, Maharshi Agastya was in today's Sri Lanka. It was there was no separation of countries or whatever. So Agastya was in Sri Lanka. So Mahavatar Babaji and his sister go to Agastya Muni. There finally he experiences true Advaita and Advaitatita Siddhartha, which is Shunya. He understands everything. And after that, he heads back to Kashi. And we know the rest of the story. We'll talk about it. So, but what I'm saying is his whole life, once he left on a yoga yatra, he attains yoga. He leaves his village at a very young age, a teenager, comes back, non-consequential. He moves around and then he leaves. So that is the travel until he attains yoga, oneness. So that is Yoga Yatra. Till you attain oneness. Whereas when it comes to us, we have this clutches of worldly existence. We are stuck. We go and come back. So that is the reason there are a lot of obstacles when we take up our yatras, which is the Yoga Yatra. So being aware of this, being so aware of the obstacles that will come up, should we actually take up? What is the necessity? I'll leave it to you all to, whoever has taken up these yatras, to mull over. We have taken up. We've gone. We have come back. The experience of yatra itself has been very beautiful. It is fun-filled. It is enjoyable. We did, do our sadhanas, upasadhanas. We gained siddhis. We visited so many holy places. And we got back without any stress. The yatras have been absolutely beautiful. So that is that is one thing which we need to understand. Second, how much have we evolved between the yatras before taking up the yatras and coming back? The evolution, spiritual evolution of Avadhutas of Shunya Kriya has been leaps and bounds. Those memories are not just a part of attachments. Those memories remain forever. That leaves an imprint in our hearts and our thoughts forever. Every time we think about it, we get into that state of Satchidananda, bliss. The very thought of our yatras, not rejoicing, just absolute nothingness is what we feel when it comes to when we even think about the yatras. So yes, it is not, it's not forced upon, but it is nice, it is good to go on yoga yatras. We have had 4 or 5 of them in a short period of 2 years. Shirdi was once, and Himalayas, and so on and so forth. So all of us who have traveled on this yoga yatra know the beauty of yoga yatra. So who is entitled? What are the consequences? Why there are obstacles? Why there is a confusion? We have understood. The fundamentals is Sankalpa Vikalpa. Sankalpa is to liberate yourself, attain oneness, the union, ultimate yoga. Vikalpa is you come back to the worldly life. So that is why these frictions. Like Mahatar Babaji left, he never came back. It is incidental that he came down south and there happened to be his native land, native village. But he just came in the purpose was to, again, join him, take his sister along in this yatra, because the significance of his sister is so high for we Shunya Kriya yogis and yoginis. It is thanks to her that Babaji performs Nirvana Kaya, and he is physically as well as astrally existent even to this day. It's only thanks to his sister. So that was the purpose. So based on that purpose, he comes, he joins his sister, takes her along to his guru Bhoganathar, and then eventually Agastya, and attains Shunya. So that is Yoga Yatra. What happens? A 11-year-old boy, a teenage boy, he leaves till he attains Shunya. And in the process, he visits his birthplace of this birth or whatever, but non-consequential. He is finally attained yoga. What happens when it comes to us? We go and being fully aware that we will come back to our native land and get engrossed with our worldly existence also. That is why the Vikalpas. Is it still, despite that, is it okay, or is it a necessity to, is there a necessity to take up these yoga yatras? Yes. Do not worry, let us not much get stressed about it. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Right. So this is about the difference between Thirtha Yatra and Yoga Yatra, and what is Yoga Yatra in its purest form. And these yatras of Yoga Yatra is only mentioned in the Shastras. Thus far, so far, no one, no order, no sampradaya has even heard or mentioned, forget about explaining, this yatra called the Yoga Yatra. It's nowhere there. First time it is being revealed, the difference and distinction between the Yoga Yatra and the, other yatras, the Tirtha Yatras and things like that. So, a lot of things are getting revealed in Shunya Kriya, Avadhutas of Shunya Kriya. Right? So this is few words on Yoga Yatra, and as always, I am happy to take questions and offer clarifications if there are any.
Sairam Bhaiya.
Yes, Deep. Sairam.
Yeah, Bhaiya, you had talked about Bhoganathar. Yeah, and in the group also I was talking about one Tamil literature that was, and I was basically speaking about the famous book Bogar 700. Okay, so basically Bhoganathar and like Tirumular, like all these siddhas. Okay, they have written some literatures. My question is that like these books are like we all know the value of these books, okay, but why are these books not translated in English?
Yeah, we'll discuss this after this recording. We'll discuss that. Yes, unfortunately, it has not been translated. Now, any specific question about Yoga Yatra? We can. Then I'll surely answer this.
Bhaiya, can you share some nice experiences the yogis had there?
This time or next time? I mean, last time or
This
whatever.
this time, Bhaiya.
Yes, we'll do that.
Yeah.
After this recording stops.
Sarambaya, may I ask something, please?
Yes, Mary.
I'm just, at the end of the day, it's a journey within. Yeah, and I understand the benefit of going on the yatras. So for about 13 years, every year, if a couple of times every year, I would have gone on these trips, and I understand they were not yoga, I suppose, yoga yatras per se, but I would say the majority of those trips I went only with that wanting to experience oneness. And I just question now, I suppose, the impact of them. I've been to amazing places, kind of many places I hope I will see again. But I'm not sure I feel any closer to oneness.
Yeah, the question is that what is the point? I mean, you haven't experienced the oneness, and yet you have taken several such yatras.
Yeah, 30
Yeah,
30 yatras, yeah.
50 yatras. Just come with us once.
Okay.
Now that you are home, I would say Shunya Kriya of Saipanth is a home for you. Come with us once, just once. You will experience.
Yeah, I haven't been to India since I'm 20,
Yeah, I know.
since I'm 2020.
All right. Okay.
But on my very last evening there, I believe I was blessed by Sri Sai Baba. And I suppose I ask myself, is that how I have ended up here?
See the significance. I mean, like the travel all over is just to travel within. That's the ultimate truth. Then what is the necessity to travel anywhere if we have to travel within? Why can't we just remain in our native lands, our homes, and then just travel within? It's always to break the pattern. In our native establishments, like, our homes, our careers, our places where we stay, there is always the pattern which gets evolved. And you are born into a pattern with your decision to be born in the such and such a place. The whole idea is to break the pattern and move. So the idea is to break the pattern. For example, nobody authentically or finally say where Sri Shirdi Sainath Maharaj was born in near Shirdi or in Maharashtra somewhere. We don't know. But certainly it was not the place where, Shirdi was not the place where he was born. He comes and settles down. Swami Samartha, we don't know where he was born. They say he's a continuation of Sripada Sri Vallabha himself. But finally he comes and settles down in Akkadkot. Likewise, every saint, every monk, every order, every head of every monastery, they break the pattern and move. Because in our established situation, in our establishments, like maybe our house, our home, where we live, or whatever, there's a pattern which is attached to us. The pattern has to break. Because if you are there, the pattern will capture. Every saint has a past, every sinner has a future. So basically, when every saint has a past, it doesn't mean anything negative. It means that the patterns. So breaking the pattern is the primary goal for us to move out. Eventually, where do we travel within? So the fundamental reason why we move out of the house or our comfort zone or our establishment or our homes or whatever is only to break the patterns. Then the only issue here in our Yoga Yatra is that we come back to the patterns. That is the Vikalpa, what I was talking about. So that is the reason it is a necessity to move out. Every master, every single one of them have moved out of their native establishments. Then they very few may have, but even Sant Kabir Das, we don't know where he. I mean, there is a place where he appeared, but he settled down in another place. So likewise, though it's a little away from a small village close to Kashi, Varanasi, and then he comes and settles down in Kabir Chowra. So everywhere there is this saints, even monks and the masters, they break the pattern. So it is always a must for us to break the pattern, because otherwise we'll get into the clutches of our patterns. Even the patterns are based on our destiny, our birth. Right. That's the reason.
Bhaiya, can I ask you a question, Bhaiya?
Yes, doctor.
Bhaiya, you mentioned about Yoga Yatra, and to alluding again to Mary, what she was mentioning. Is there any significance of going on a Yoga Yatra with your guide or your master, as opposed to going on your own, or so-called, pseudo gurus as well? There's a difference, right? So is there any significance of going to Yoga Yatra with your master? Because I personally feel the impact of it is quite different than something which you're taking on your own. Can you explain a little bit more about going on Yoga Yatra with your guru?
See, any yoga yatra which is taken up with your guru in the body, or a guru who is not in the body. But guru is a must. The yoga yogis will also meet their gurus. The travel is always held. I mean, travel is always done by holding the hands of a guru. This Sri Sainath Maharaj, our master, has very clearly stated in Sai Satcharita. He says there is this jungle, you are traveling. The routes are very dangerous. It is dark out there. There are wild animals. It is too dangerous and treacherous to travel. Then one man asks, what if we take a guide with us? He says, then there is absolutely no problem, because guide knows the way. Guide he refers to as a guru. You have read it in Satcharita. So, no yatra can be conclusive, productive, without the grace of a guru. Without a guru holding your hand and walking with you, traveling with you. There's no point. Then you are moving on an ascetic state of mind. You become an ascetic, a vagabond. A guru specifically takes you to places he knows. He knows where to take you. He knows where to unwind whatever is wound up in your life. He knows where to break the pattern. He knows everything. You just go with him. He'll carry you. He'll comfort you. He'll do what is necessary, where it has to be done, what has to be done, to the precision, perfect. A guru in the body or without the body doesn't matter, but Guru's grace, without that, no yatra is complete. And finally, Guru will take you to the doorstep of your inner self. And there he says, here is your destination. Become one with. Attain the yoga. That is how Guru holds your hand. Without that, there is no point in any yatra. We actually speak about it as a retreat. No, it's not a retreat. But anyway, for a lack of better words, we use that. But yeah, it's a must. Right, Doc?
Thank you, Bhaiya.
So if we don't have any other questions, we can stop the recording. Sai Ram.